Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another edition of a Film Fanatic video. So I hope everyone's doing good. It is Wednesday at about 10 minutes after 10. So yeah, hope everyone's doing good. Some cool things coming up uh as far as like some music things that have been going on. In particular in the world of quantum, we're just coming hot off the heels of the All Roads Festival. We played Friday and Saturday, and it was great. It was a super fun time. It was great to see so much music. Also, one of the perks of being a part of this festival was being able to see so much music for free. And the coolest thing about the All Roads Festival is that the main focus of it is all original music, and so it was great, especially Saturday, because Saturday was the big day, and we got to see so much live music. It was By the end of it, my head was spinning. I got to see so much music. It was great. I talk about that, my habits of my free time and things that I love to do, and I do it all the time. But anytime I get a chance or know of some music that's going on locally, I that's one of my favorite things to do is to go out, support local live music. I think it's a very important thing to do. I think where there's definitely a pretty awesome music scene here in Mid Coast Maine, and there's, to a degree, I think, amongst certain groups of musicians and in certain areas, there's kind of an unspoken collective. And being an artist and a musician, you can do lots of things by yourself, and you can you know more or less try to attempt to carve out your own path. But those kinds of things, or doing things only that way, I think you're kind of limited to a degree. You're you're you do need, inevitably you do need to bring in other people, or you need to support a scene to a degree, or have some kind of collective that you can be a part of, and you do have to rely on other people. And if it's a genuine interest and a genuine focus and a love and a passion for what you do, I feel like once you have that, then you can spread yourself out a little bit more, and maybe enjoy a little bit more of the fruits of some kind of success. And I think that the All Roads Festival was a real pivotal thing. Is a really great example of that. It's a collective of all of these original artists, but it's not necessarily a scene. It's not. It's just kind of everything, like the title says, all roads. So it just kind of it's evolved to that degree, and I think locally here in Mid Coast Maine we have that, and it's not something we necessarily have to put a banner to or wave a flag. I think it just kind of happens, and I think part of that is, for me, when I play gigs with Quantum or just any other project, you know, we spend a lot of time, meaning, or being the musicians who are involved with these performances, we spend a lot of time promoting shows. We spend a lot of time spreading the word, and also the whole situation of trying to book shows. And to a degree, that is a very separate job, and that requires a lot of work and a lot of patience. And but it's something that kind of has to be done outside of, say, the actual performance and all those things. So being a musician, and especially now, things are are a little bit harder, I think, to a degree. So you have to push those things a little bit harder. And but I think at the end of the day, it can really be a fruitful thing. And I think there's a lot of musicians out there. And one of the reasons that I try to to support music is I never like you know nobody's obligated to participate in anything. I don't feel that's one of the things I don't like about, say, collectivist thinking, is that you're obligated to you're therefore obligated to do this or to do that. I think certain things when you're in a unspoken or a spoken for collective, especially if you're in a group of where it does have the banner, you then become obligated to do certain things, and you to a degree have a certain degree of pressure put on you, which I think is needed, for certain things to be done. But I'd rather be in a situation of where if you're going to get invested in things and you're going to work or help out in certain to a certain capacity, it's the way that you choose to do that is something really genuine, and that it's something you really want to do and that you're enthusiastic about, not because you're doing it out of pure obligation. And I feel like if you have that, at least that's how it works for me. If you're in that mindset, then that work gets done, and then that focus is there, and but it's genuine, and it's not under kind of any kind of obligational kind of situation. So I go out to see live music a lot because I do want folks to come out to shows that I'm involved in and support that, but nobody's obligated to do that. But I try to, you know, set that example. And it's something, but that for me, that is a way that I like to try to cultivate that thing. But I do it first and foremost because I just naturally feel comfortable doing that and I love doing that. So it doesn't, that part of it is not under some kind of, obligation or feeling that I need to do it. I just do it naturally. So I try to go out to support live music as much as I can because I feel for the greater, you know, scene that we have, or unspoken music scene, it's important, and I legitimately feel that, if you don't, for myself, if I don't do those things, I can't ever, if people don't come see any of our performances or other shows, I shouldn't feel, well, where was everybody? So I just feel like it needs to spread that way, and that's kind of what I do. So when at the festival, it was really great to be able to do that, and so much variety, so many cool, met a lot of cool people, and so many great bands, and it was great. It was a really great experience. Um, so the next thing coming up for Quantum is on June 2nd. We will be back. Quantum will be back on June 2nd at the Gypsy Rose Tavern in Camden, Maine, which is the Gypsy Rose Tavern is pretty much locally right now. I think the most happening and the best, and also the best local music venue. They opened up this January, the first week of the new year of 2023, and they've been going like gangbusters, and it's been an amazing place. They've supported so many local bands, and it's really great to see how this thing has really grown. And this will be our second show there as Quantum. We played there over the winter, and we played there really early on. I think it might have even been in January. We were like one of the first bands to play there. So I'm excited to be back there and to see, and to be back at this place now that it's has a little bit of. I feel like now it's got some legs under it. So because it was a very new thing, the first spring summer season there, so it's still finding its way, uh, but it's more established now, and so we'll be there on June 2nd, and we're going to be playing at 7 o'clock. We'll be doing a quantum set for 3 hours, and we will be doing like more. Well, it's a longer time slot, but we'll be playing a lot more music, and we will be doing probably in the earlier part of the night. We'll be playing more of our kind of more ambient stuff for people eating and stuff, and ambient music is good for digestion. So very excited about that. That's June 2nd. That's going to be coming up next week. So yeah, and there'll be some more shows, and working on some new things, and some more other announcements coming up. I really love doing the 3 hour shows. We haven't done them in a while. Like the shows we've been doing lately have been about an hour or 45 minutes. The last few gigs that we've had, and we tend to like have to play maybe like a warm up tune, and then try to get to the action quicker. But we still try to pace everything. But with the 3 hour sets, I really love, because we're used to playing a lot. Most of our gigs were in that time frame, and I really like the 3 hour sets because we can really try to, if we're having a good gig, we always have good gigs, or and then you also have bad gigs where you're just not in the zone. But I feel like when we play a good gig, it's really awesome to be able to like play around with that thing of trying to build the momentum and build the energy, and because we have lots of different tunes, so it's really nice to try to build the energy slowly, and we usually mix it up a lot with some real ambient stripped down tracks to mid tempo tracks to the more heavier dance stuff and the more experimental stuff. So it's a lot of fun to be able to tackle a 3 hour set and try to see how you can kind of build from zero. So if you're in the Camden area, come on by and check it out. It'll be a 7 o'clock show, so very excited. So today's show, I'm super excited about. I made this amazing discovery the other night. Like I've said many, many times throughout these videos, my favorite genre of all time is the slasher horror exploitation uh, film or style. That is my go-to thing. If you can give me a good slasher film any time of the day or any time at night, and I'm a happy camper. I love the slasher film so much. It's always been my favorite ever since I was a kid, and now with me being a big collector, it's that's my go-to thing as far as the going searching out, finding movies I saw when I was a kid, but just that classic, old school slasher film that is has all those great characteristics of just really great, awesome atmosphere. A group of teenagers or a group of young people who are scantily clad, having lots of sex. They get picked off one by one by some crazed psychopath that wears a really cool mask, and there's all these creative kills. It's usually centered in the environment's usually like a real isolated cabin or a spooky house somewhere in the woods. uh, and it usually comes with great music. That to me is the ultimate. So I discovered a movie that I never seen before, and I was just completely blown away by it. And I just think this movie is one of the best slasher movies I've ever seen. Definitely one of the. It's an older film, and definitely one of the best new discoveries. Probably the best new discovery I've had as far as discovering uh, a slasher film that I'd never seen before. It's super awesome. And that movie is Curtains, and it came out in 1983, and it's a Canadian film. And that film, the way I saw it, was on this pack. I've been covering. I bought this last weekend at the Goodwill in Rockland. And I don't usually, like I said, I don't usually buy too many DVDs. I try to focus on buying only Blu-rays just because of the sheer quality. But every now and then I come across a DVD that is, an absolute steal, and is really great. So I do buy them, but not a lot. Not in comparison to Blu-ray. It's pretty small, but I came across this pack, this video pack. It's got 10 movies on it. It's 2 discs, and it's really awesome. I've been watching. It's got 10 movies on it, which is just crazy, and I got it for $3, and it's got some killer movies on here. So I've been watching a lot of the movies on here, and I've been doing shows on all of them, and it's been wonderful. I've made so many cool discoveries. Super fun, super fun. I did a show on a movie that's on here called Transfers, which is like this totally gonzo, crazy sci-fi exploitation movie from the '80s, which I had never seen before, but awesome. It also has David Schmoller's Puppet Master, the original, on here, which is such an awesome movie, such a killer movie from the '80s. And David Schmoller, which I didn't realize he directed this, but he's also the director of Tourist Trap, which is my favorite all-time horror exploitation slasher movie. That is the my favorite movie of all time, and I didn't realize that he directed Puppet Master movies, which is a huge franchise, and that was on here. And the additions of the movies, the transfers of the movies are actually pretty good on here. Um, yeah, I was impressed. They're actually pretty good. But one of the movies that I just finished up watching last night is this movie, Curtains, and it's a Canadian slasher film. And I was just blown away by how awesome it is. I mean, if you like slasher films, this is the shit. Like, it's got all of those awesome things that you look for, all those awesome characteristics of what makes a classic slasher film. I've been on this Canadian kick too lately. The Canadian slasher film in the '70s and '80s was just incredible. I did a big show on Black Christmas. I had one of the actresses from Black Christmas on the show, and that was an absolute blast. Even though I had a lot of technical problems in the beginning, I discovered that for the first time this year. I had heard about it for years, finally bought it, and I saw it, and was completely blown away by that movie. There's an there's another great, fantastic movie called The Siege, which is another Canadian movie that is just so awesome, killer exploitation movie. And of course, probably the most popular is My Bloody Valentine, which is, a masterpiece. I mean, that movie is just a masterpiece. One of the most incredible slasher films ever made, also Canadian. And I'm also a huge David Cronenberg fan. And I did coverage of Shivers, which was his first full length feature film, which is like this real gritty '70s bizarro sci fi exploitation movie. I did a show on that. And I'm going to do some more Cronenberg films at some point. And Curtains, which I just saw for the very first time last night, had never seen it before, I'd never heard of it. And it was funny because there's 5 discs on each movie. I never heard it before, and I had just finished Puppet Master, so I started watching Curtains right afterwards, and within 5 minutes I was just like, yes, this is gonna be awesome, because it just right away I knew it was gonna be just this like killer slasher movie, and I was blown away by it. It's so great in so many levels. It came out in 1983. It was directed by Richard Ciopaka or Kupaka, and just so damn good. Like, totally blown away by it. The cast is phenomenal. Samantha Edgar, John Vernon, Linda Thompson, Lynn Griffin is actually in this too, which is nuts. Lynn Griffin was the guest that I had. She's the star of Black Christmas. It's crazy, just totally nuts. Maury Chaikin, Booth Savage, Kate Lynch, Leslie Donaldson. But this movie is so awesome. It's got some of the creepiest scenes and some of the most creative kills I've seen in a while. There's actually a scene, the killer in the film, the slasher. He is just such an intense creation. There's a scene. The kills are just really fabulous. The first time it has this one kill sequence in it where it actually takes place during where these characters are ice skating, and it actually happens on this frozen lake. And the killer in the movie has this doll, and what the killer does is it kind of they kind of stalk their victim for a while and more or less find out where they are, and what they do, they take this, and the doll is like this uber creepy looking thing, and they take this doll and they put it in that location, and then that victim comes across this doll, and then shortly after, that's when they get murdered. And the killer itself has this mask that is just so awesome, and it's like this creepy old woman's mask, and it's amazing. The kills are so super creative. Seeing somebody get killed or picked off on while they're on ice skates on ice, I've never seen that before. Awesome, awesome sequence. The movie has so much great suspense and atmosphere to it. Really, really great story too. It's kind of centered around this woman who is an actress, and she's coming up. She gets this role where she's playing a woman who's like a psychotic, crazy woman who becomes institutionalized, and then comes out of the institution basically as a serial killer. So this actress decides she's like a method actress. So what she does in order to train for her role, and she's playing this woman who becomes this killer, she decides to actually go and stay for like a couple weeks in a mental institution, and to kind of learn about the psychology of what people in those environments go through. And then it just goes from there. It goes into this whole thing of where she comes across these other women and other actors that are also trying to get this role, and just the extent to where they are willing, to the extent to where they're gonna go, or what they're willing to do to get that role. And then that leads to the whole slasher scenario. But just such an awesome movie. The atmosphere is just incredible. The the slasher, the actual killer, the design and the methods that they use, the design of the kills, the design of the mask, the aesthetic, and also the actual kills themselves, the practical effects are just super awesome. This movie has such great atmosphere. There's certain sequences in this film that are just so creepy, and there's particularly that scene of where this woman gets killed and she's ice skating, and the killer is also on ice skates, which is just wild. There's this that whole sequence is done of where it's like in slow motion, and you see the killer come up on her with the mask on, with this, and she has a like this pickaxe, and it's super creepy, and the music is just really great. It's super low budget. It's very sleazy, and it deals a lot with psychology. There's also a character in this film who is a clinical psychologist who works with people who are psychotic and who are schizophrenic, and he's like a central character in this movie. Really great, really really great, great story, really original. It's got a lot of interesting twists and turns, really suspenseful. This film too, it's interesting because it made me think of, like, it feels like this movie could have been directed by Brian De Palma, who is, one of the greatest directors ever. And he's made all kinds of movies, but particularly in the 70s and 80s, he made these really low budget, kind of gritty movies. And he's made some incredible movies like Dress to Kill, Body Double, The Fury. These movies I consider to be kind of exploitation movies. They're really sleazy, like Dress to Kill, Body Double. They're really sleazy. They're bizarre. They deal with these very sexual psycho things or psychosexual themes. And Curtains really is a psychosexual thriller, along with being definitely a slasher film. But what an amazing discovery, and I totally love this movie. I was enamored with it. It's got a great story. It's got a high level of suspense right from the beginning to the very end. It's got a great ending. It's got a really cool twist at the end. I didn't know who the killer was at all throughout the entire movie. I suspected a couple of characters, but I was wrong. But really great, really awesome. I will definitely look to find this movie on Blu-ray. I can't recommend it enough. Curtains. And again, it's another Canadian movie that I just discovered, 1983. And it's like, I love new movies. I did a big show on Infinity Pool, which is just a crazy horror movie that just came out this year, starring Mia Goth, which is just an amazing movie. But I gotta say, a movie like Curtains, they don't make movies like that anymore. It's just 70s, 80s, two best decades for horror. I highly recommend this movie. It's definitely one of my favorites right now. One of my favorite discoveries, and I'm definitely, in my travels, I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for Curtains. And I didn't know anything about this movie. I totally went into it cold. And it was directed by Richard Supaka, like I said, and or he's still around. He's in his 70s now, but he was a cinematographer, a film director, and he's worked with, he collaborated with many different people in the film industry. Some of his other films that he did, Coyote in 1992, The Mysterious, The Last Breath in '99. I don't really believe he had done any other horror films or slasher films, but what an amazing discovery. So I highly, highly recommend this film. It's probably the best in the bunch of new discoveries as of late. I've been watching lots of newer films. Well, not. I've been watching a lot of older films, but most of them have all been first time watches for me, or first time viewing. And this is definitely the best one I've seen, hands down. Yeah, Curtains, 1983. Check it out. Canadian Slasher 101. So thanks again for your support, and we will see you next time. Peace.